Hello and welcome to today's episode. I am Sakshi Mandwal, and today in this program we are going to discuss rules of grammar, the punctuation. The subject expert for this program is Professor F.B. Khan from AJK MCRC Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. What is punctuation? When we speak, we pause, stop and use the word. Repeat. What is punctuation? When we speak, we pause, stop and use the pitch of voice to emphasize certain words or phrases. When we write, punctuation marks are used to denote pause, break, stop and emphasize, making our sentences easier to read and understand. Punctuation is used to clarify the meaning of sentences. It is important to use the correct punctuation marks and to understand their usage while writing for mass media. Oxford Dictionary defines punctuation as the practice, action or system of inserting points or small marks into text in order to aid interpretation. Division of text into sentences, clauses, etc. by means of such marks. Incorrect punctuation can alter the meaning of sentences, partially or completely. For example, let us eat, Grandma, said Mary. Let us eat, Grandma, said Mary. In the first sentence, a comma is used to lend the appropriate meaning to the sentence, which conveys that Mary is asking a grandma to eat with her grandma. However, if the comma is removed from the sentence, the meaning completely changes and conveys that Mary is talking about eating her grandma. Read the sentences given below. Ruby goes to school every day. Can I bake a cake for you? Rita shopped cookies, breads, eggs and marmalade. This isn't my cup of tea. Aman said, come here. Oh, bummer, I forgot to bring my notebook to class. In the above sentences, punctuation marks used are full stop, question mark, comma, apostrophe, inverted commas and exclamation mark. In the following section, the punctuation marks are explained in greater detail. Various types of punctuation. First, full stop is also known as period. It is written at the end of a sentence to mark its completion. For example, John is a good boy. A sentence that ends with a question mark or exclamation mark does not require a full stop. For example, is John a good boy? Correct. Is John a good boy? And then after question mark, a full stop. Incorrect. John is a good boy. Exclamation mark. Full stop. Incorrect. So this means the exclamation mark is not used with full stop. Question mark is not used with full stop. All three punctuations are used separately. So if a sentence ends with an abbreviation, full stop is used. For example, he works at Apple Inc. Full stop. Paper was invented in 105 AD. Second, question mark is used to put an end to direct questions but not to the indirect questions. Indirect questions end with a full stop. For example, teacher asked Paul, have you finished your homework? Question mark, closed inverted commas. This is a direct question. Second, teacher asked Paul if he had finished his homework. Indirect question. Third is comma, which is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause in the sentence. It segments the sentences into meaningful parts. Commas are used to compound sentences before the conjunctions like and, but, etc., for, so, and so on. For example, Sana missed the bus, so she took a cab to reach her workplace. Commas are used to separate one or more word or phrases in a sentence. For example, teacher asked Kavita to count the apples, comma, oranges, comma, bananas and lychees in the basket. Commas are also used to be followed by additional information in a sentence. For example, the national flag is hoisted on 26 January, comma, which is celebrated as the Republic Day in India. Fourth, inverted comma or quotation mark is punctuation used to quote the word spoken by a person or a group of people. For example, tragic situations are not necessarily devoid of beauty, said Jamie Natchway. For example, Ibn Battuta, the famous traveller, said, he who lives sees, comma, but he who travels sees more. Fifth is a colon. It's a punctuation mark used to introduce a list of things or a long quotation. Colon is also used to separate hours from minutes while writing time. For example, 11 is to 15 p.m. Or to write ratios. For example, 1 is to 2. For example, the ingredients needed to make coffee are colon, coffee powder, sugar and milk. For example, the captain of the team said, colon, winning the game is very important, but equally important is ethical performance. Cheating or leg pulling cannot fetch the team far. Sixth, semicolon is punctuation used to join the sets of relative sentences together. For example, Onam is a festival of South India. Semicolon, it falls in the Malayalam calendar month of Chingam. Semicolon, it is celebrated by Malayali diaspora all over the globe. Seventh, apostrophe is punctuation used to denote the ownership of something by a person or group. For example, this is Mariam's cat, where Mariam is spelled as Maryam apostrophe S. In this art, Mariam is described as the owner of the cat. For example, an organization's success depends on the capacity of its workers. Apostrophe is also used with words like don't, can't, won't, etc. Eighth, exclamation mark is punctuation used at the end of a phrase or sentence to denote various emotions like excitement, surprise, disgust, joy, horror, sadness, disappointment, etc. For example, hooray! Exclamation mark. We are going on a picnic, comma, tomorrow. Full stop. Excitement. Oh my God! Exclamation mark. You look so different. Surprise. Oh, lovely! Exclamation mark. Where did you get this dress from? Question mark. Admiration or joy. Geez! Exclamation mark. This dish has spoiled. Full stop. Disappointment or annoyance. Ninth is hyphen. Is shorter than dash. It is punctuation used between two words to connect as well as to separate them. For example, the anti-pollution measures of the government could not succeed due to the lack of public transportation. For example, witnessing crime in the locality was an I-opener for Ramesh. In the above sentences, the words anti-pollution and eye-opener are connected and separated with each other using a hyphen. 10th, dash and slash. Dash can be used in place of comma to ease out the readability of the sentences and to draw more attention to a word or phrase. For example, sometimes, comma, the most irritable disease, dash, common cold makes it difficult for a person to breathe properly. Slash is used to denote optionality, also to replace the conjunction or. For example, the synonym used for capacity is ability or potential. 11th, ellipsis is punctuation that indicates a pause in a long ongoing dialogue. It could also be when a person loses his or her train of thought. For example, I don't know, I was thinking to buy a new house. What do you suggest? In this sentence, the ellipse is used to denote a pause in the line of speaker's thought. 12th, parenthesis is the singular term, plural parenthesis, used to denote some additional and non-essential information in a sentence which comes inside brackets. For example, Poppy is planning to visit European countries, Spain, England, etc. this year. 13th, interrobang is the combination of question mark and exclamation mark used together at the end of a sentence. It is denoted either by a question mark or by exclamation followed by question mark. Interrobangs are usually used in cases where interrogation and emotions are involved simultaneously. For example, Jack asked Mike, "Are you a chain smoker?" Question mark, exclamation mark. In this example, Jack is interrogating Mike if he is a chain smoker, or as well as expressing his surprise at the same time. Therefore, usage of interrobang suits the sentence. Rules of punctuation. Rule number 1. Every sentence needs a punctuation mark in its end. It may be a full stop, a question mark or an exclamation mark. Rule number 2. Comma and full stop used in a quoted sentence come within the inverted commas and not outside them. Commas are often used before the quotation begins. This is done to introduce the quotation. For example, Ginza requested Maria, please get apples, comma, mangoes and peaches for me. Full stop. Correct. Second, Ginza requested Maria, comma, please get apples, comma, mangoes and peaches for me. Inverted commas closed and then a full stop. Incorrect. Rule number 3. Commas are also used to separate the place, that is location and date of the event, and also separating town from the state in newspaper stories. For example, New Delhi, 30th May, 2018, colon. 5 students meet with a car accident, semicolon, 2 die on the spot. Rule 4. Apart from comma and full stop, any other punctuation mark like question mark or semicolon comes outside the inverted commas. For example, Mariam asked, could you please call me later? Inverted commas and a question mark outside it. Correct. Mariam asked, could you please call me later? Question mark and inverted colons outside it. Incorrect. Rule 5. Colons are either used to separate two sentences or to introduce a direct quote which is longer in length. For example, Julius Caesar once said, colon, inverted commas open, during a few days' halt near Vesontio for the provision of corn and other supplies, a panic arose from inquiries made by our troops and remarks uttered by Gauls and traders who affirmed that the Germans were men of a mighty frame and an incredible valor and skill at arms. Inverted commas closed. Rule number 6. Use semicolons between two independent clauses. Clauses that stand alone as separate sentences in place of a connecting conjunction for, or, and but, therefore, however, etc. For example, in India, discrimination on the basis of sexuality prevails, semicolon. Efforts have been made on a smaller scale to banish such discriminations. In the example given above, a semicolon has been used in place of a conjunction, however, to connect both interlinked sentences. Rule number 7. Please note that the quotation marks are used to write direct speech and are not good or used in indirect speech. For example, Ram said, inverted commas open, Shanti is a very lazy girl, full stop, commas closed, direct speech. Second, Ram said that Shanti is a very lazy girl, indirect speech. Rule number 8. Apostrophe is used to denote possession of a person towards someone or something. An apostrophe and letter S is added to a singular noun, whereas if a group or plural noun is used, an apostrophe is added alone without using the letter S. For example, this is our class's notice box. Second, the math class's worksheets are lost. In the first sentence, the word class is singular. Therefore, an apostrophe is followed by the letter S. In the second sentence, the word classes are plural, so only an apostrophe is added without the letter S. Rule 9. Apostrophes are also added in contraction of words. For example, let us move forward from now. Second, let's move forward from now. In the first sentence, let us is the expanded form of phrase. In the second sentence, let's, L-E-T apostrophe S, is the contracted form of the phrase let us. Likewise, let us look at another example of apostrophe usage. Do not go to the bank today. Don't go to the bank today. In the first sentence, do not is the expanded form of the phrase. In the second sentence, don't is the contracted form of the phrase do not. Rule number 10, hyphen, is used for compound adjectives. A single adjective made up of two or more words collectively used is called compound adjective. It means that when two or more words serve as one adjective collectively before the word, then those adjectives is hyphenative. For example, going to Bali was a never to forget experience for Ria. In this sentence, hyphen is used to join the adjectives used before the word experience. Rule number 11. Let's understand the difference in the usage of a colon and a semicolon. Both can be used to connect the independent clauses. When the second clause explains the first clause, a colon is to be used. When the clauses are related to each other but the second clause does not follow the first clause, a semicolon is used. For example, the airport security is very strict in foreign land. Passengers can neither fly in nor out of the country without a passport or a visa. Colon. The airport security is very strict in foreign lands. Semicolon. A passenger cannot travel without a passport. Semicolon. Importance of punctuation marks. Now let us look at the following paragraph to understand the need of punctuation marks. Have you read the book Lullaby by Leela Slimani, which is about a killer nanny? Leela is the 12th woman to win the Prix Goncourt France most prestigious literary prize. Her first novel, The Ogre Garden, won the Prix La Mammonia. She is a French Moroccan journalist and frequent commentator on women and human rights. She lives in Paris with her husband and 2 young children, said Louis. Can you make sense of the above paragraph? Well, absence of punctuation marks dilutes the meaning of sentences. It is very important to understand the usage of punctuation marks in order to frame meaningful sentences. Now read the paragraph given below which makes use of punctuation marks. Have you read the book Lullaby by Leela Slimani, comma, which is about a killer nanny? Question mark. Leela is the 12th woman to win the Prix Goncourt, comma, France's most prestigious literary prize, full stop. Her first novel, comma, The Ogre's Garden, won the Prix La Mammonia, full stop. Slimani is a French Moroccan journalist and frequent commentator on women's and human rights. She lives in Paris with her husband and 2 young children. Inverted commas closed and full stop. Said Louis. Can you see the difference between a paragraph without punctuation and a paragraph with punctuation? Therefore, it is very important to note certain punctuation guidelines. Number 1. Always end the sentence with a punctuation mark, a full stop, question mark or an exclamation mark. Second, never end a sentence with a comma. Third, colon can be used to introduce a list of things in a sentence. Fourth, always begin a quotation with inverted commas or quotation marks. Fifth, capitalize the beginning letter of the sentence, name of a person, place or book. Sixth, put the names of peculiar things in inverted commas to lend emphasis. Seventh, place a comma in a long sentence to give break after half the sentence is finished. Eighth, never put a comma and the word and together. Ninth, if 2 adjectives are to be used together, separate them with a hyphen. 10th, always put an apostrophe to denote ownership and possession of a person's belongings. 11th, semicolon is a longer break than comma but shorter than a full stop. 12th, never use slang language in formal communication. 13th, use ellipses to indicate thinking break in author's chain of thoughts. 14th, put the additional or non-essential information in parentheses. 15th, use apostrophe for contraction of words like let's, don't, can't, etc. while speaking and writing in informal language. Use expanded words in formal writing. 16th, understand the reference to context to better use punctuation marks. 17th, punctuation marks are extensively used while writing citations and references. Understand the style of punctuating in APA, Chicago and MLA citation styles and use punctuation accordingly. 18th, a missing punctuation mark can change the meaning of the sentence partially or completely. For example, we are going to learn cutting and pasting, comma, kids, full stop. Correct. We are going to learn cutting and pasting, kids. Incorrect. 19th, too many adverbs make the sentence look jammed and clumsy. 20th, 2 punctuation marks are not placed together at the end of the sentence. Put 1 punctuation mark at a time to end the sentence, either a full stop or a question mark or an exclamation mark. However, sometimes a question mark and exclamation mark are used together at the end of a sentence. Using question mark with exclamation mark together to end a sentence is called an interrobank. It is represented by either question and exclamation or exclamation with a question. Interrobangs are used to combine the functions of a question mark, that is interrogation, and the emotion behind the exclamation mark, that is happiness, sadness, surprise, or disgust. Guidelines for writing news. Rules of grammar. Let us now discuss the useful guidelines for creative and effective news writing. It is often observed that written script is more complex and intricate, having longer sentences and subordinate clauses, whereas the punctuation of written text has no spoken equivalent. However, a missing comma or a question mark can change the entire meaning of the communicated message. First, use punctuation marks wisely. The news writer and news reader must understand the different usages of comma, colon and semicolon and ellipsis. Second, in pre-recorded formats, writers receive no immediate feedback from their readers. So the context has to be understood by the speaker with a little scope of clarification. Hence, news script has to be written with objectivity, precision and clearly used punctuation. There is a writing tip for news readers. Written script can be reread and minutely analyzed along with self-note making habit to make the script self-prepared. Third, in the social networking ruled and globalized world, there has been standardization of language with the usages of slang or SMS phrases like LMAO, LOL, ROFL, BRB, TC, etc. These informal slangs are strictly prohibited while writing as well as reading news because news has a formal and objective structure. Fourth, it is important to note that the news package cannot have contractions of words. Instead, the expanded form of words is used to convey clarity of the message to the readers or the viewers. Fifth, inverted pyramid. Style is used to bring the most important and exciting news elements written on the forefront of the news stories. In other words, it means putting the conclusion in the beginning. The information should flow from the most important to least important aspects in the form of an inverted pyramid. It is a way of organizing and structuring the pieces of information that takes form of news stories. The information flows in the order of the most important, less important and least important. Writing in inverted pyramid styles helps A. Hurried readers in quickly reading the crucial parts of the news. B. Newly placed journalists in getting used to the news skill writing. C. Headline writers in forming good headlines from the first 2-3 lines of the news story, and D. Page layout editors in placing the news stories on pages. The format for inverted pyramid style involves lead, body and end. However, the writer must remain cautioned not to reveal all the information right in the beginning. The nuggets of information are to be spread throughout the news story and not all at once. Always remember not to let the lead in story steal the thunder from the follow-up stories. Sixth, news stories are mostly written in active voice with prominence given to verb and the subject. Seventh, avoid leading the audience by using words like amazing, beautiful or tragic. Be as objective and neutral in writing the news material as possible. Eighth, write in definite numbers and facts rather than giving out vague statements. After you write a news story, you may set it aside and focus back after some time on it with a new and different perspective. Ninth, revise your news story and think about the alternative ways of news storytelling. 10th, eliminate jargons and cliches from the script and rewrite the sentences that are too long or tongue-twisting. 11th, in case of the audiovisual stories, make sure that the soundtrack complements and strengthens the images and videos. 12th, rewrite and shorten the long and confusing sentences. You may consider replacing the difficult words or idioms with commonly used words and phrases by the locals in the news script. 13th, recheck the script to see that the news stories are written with verified facts and ethical usage of image and video sources should be considered. Conclusion. This module was an introduction to the commonly used punctuations to create meaningful and grammatically correct sentences for an organized form of news writing. Writing incorrect punctuation marks can change or dissolve the appropriate meaning and emphasis of the phrases and sentences. It is most essential that students learn the usage of each discussed punctuation mark in sentences and learn to incorporate them while writing their news stories and delivering linguistically appropriate content through the mass media. Understanding the nature and composition of the target audience to whom the news is addressed is equally important. Therefore, the news has to be delivered with the correct use of punctuation, using the principles of truth, fairness, and objectivity. That is all that we had for you in this episode. Till the next time, it's a goodbye.